The story begins with a frail and nerdy-looking school kid named Yuki walking into class already feeling a bit irritated, as he finds a blondie shamelessly sitting on his chair and asking out the school's most famous celebrity for club. But the girl doesn't even spare him a glance, completely ignoring his existence as if he's just some background noise. Yuki is a beta male with no talents at all, yet against all odds, he unknowingly manages to make the school's most beautiful girl named Alice fall completely head over heels for him. Yuki shoots a death stare straight at Alice, thinking that he couldn't care less about her, because all she ever does is drag him into problems. Meanwhile, the blondie walks off saying he will be back, but Yuki wishes the guy would just vanish into thin air and save everyone the headache. With the threat now out of the way, the good-for-nothing protagonist finally takes his seat. Spotting the perfect chance to mess with him and make a move, Alice refuses to let it slide. She casually touches his back, which immediately freaks him out and makes him a little too uncomfortable. She then suggests they play a game of What Did I Write, and when Yuki tries to sneak a glance behind, she immediately scolds him to face forward, reminding him that cheating is strictly off the table. As she starts writing, the light touch of her finger sends a sharp shiver crawling down Yuki's spine. What she ends up scribbling is a full-blown confession that she likes him, and to seal the moment, she gives him a playful slap on the back before asking what she just wrote. Both of them turn bright red, and Yuki, still feeling the tingles and that weird shiver running through him, mumbles that he has no idea. Alice puffs her cheeks in frustration, making her face adorably chubby, then suddenly gets up from her seat. Yuki's sure she's about to storm out of the classroom, but no, his luck clearly hates him today, as she plops down in the chair right in front of him, grinning and announcing that it's now his turn to write. Alice slides her hair back, warning the guy to be honest since she'll know if he tries to lie. Yuki's face flushes bright red like a ripe tomato as he keeps staring at her without moving so much as a muscle. It's his first time seeing a girl's neck, and he never expected it to be so thin. On top of that, Alice's shampoo and perfume work their magic because all Yuki can do is keep sniffing, finding the scent sweet and soothing. When Alice asks why he still hasn't started, Yuki finally tries to move his finger while still shivering with shyness. Just as his finger is about to touch her back, he closes his eyes and the lightest touch makes Alice jump up. Alice approaches her seat behind Yuki and takes a seat, telling Yuki that he missed his chance because he was way too slow. Even Alice looks a bit embarrassed now, and there's your shy prodigy who stares down at his hand, amazed that a guy like him who's never even touched grass actually touched a girl. He wonders what she wrote on his back and seems completely clueless about it. That day, after the school bell rings, Alice stays seated while everyone else leaves. A little later, she snaps out of her romantic pipe dream, and just as she moves toward the next chair, she notices Yuki's bag hanging there. She realizes her crush has forgotten it just like he conveniently forgets she exists and decides to sit in his chair, hoping he'll show up to pick it up. Leaning over the table, she calls the guy an idiot. Just then, the classroom door slides open, and the oblivious nerd appears all messed up and out of breath. He spots Alice sitting next to his bag. The shy girl immediately jumps up like she just saw a ghost, while Yuki clutches his bag so tight you'd think it's the last slice of pizza this malnutritioned dude's ever gonna get. The next day, Yuki is sitting in the classroom while being completely lost in a manga, daydreaming about what it would be like if he could somehow become the protagonist, while a few girls in the class keep staring at him, curious about what he's reading. Alice notices them sneaking glances at her crush and shoots them a death stare that sends them scurrying away. Then Alice suddenly pokes the guy, catching him completely off guard and sending a wave of chills through him. Yuki quickly jumps up, clutching his book tightly, and insists that he just heard a teacher calling him and has to go check. After slipping away from Alice, Yuki lets out a deep sigh of relief. He worries that if anyone had caught him reading manga, they would have roasted him without mercy. Once he's done reading for the day, he heads back to class, but just as he's about to step in, he hears a group of girls chatting about him and decides to eavesdrop. They call him an introverted dork and wonder out loud why the school's top celebrity even bothers with a guy like him. Yuki freezes at the door, feeling way too awkward to walk in now. As he stays put, he hears Alice step in and shut them down, scolding them for judging someone they clearly don't know a thing about. She tells them to mind their own business and stop sticking their noses into her affairs. Meanwhile, Yuki blushes hard as he hears her stand up for him like that. He then walks into the classroom and casually takes his usual seat next to Alice. Feeling braver after her bold defense, he finally musters up the courage to tell her about the manga he was reading. He explains that it was some isekai story with a ridiculously long title like the guy who got reincarnated with an ops skill that lets him one-shot everyone and blah blah blah. Both of them go red in the face again. Alice then complains that the title is way too long for her to understand and asks him to hand over the manga so she can read it herself. As soon as she gets her hands on the book, she hugs it tighter than she hugs Teddy at night because it is like her one and only crush. As Yuki hands over his book, doubt starts creeping in. Now that the damage is done, he wonders why on earth he even told her about the manga in the first place. His brain goes into overdrive imagining every possible disaster. Maybe she will roll her eyes, call it lame, then ask if he seriously thinks he is anything like the hero who can one-shot dragons with a sneeze. Maybe she will even tear the book in half and laugh in his face like he just handed her a list of his deepest insecurities. But instead of all that, the school's untouchable queen actually finds the manga cool. She flips to a panel she really likes, points it out with genuine excitement, and asks Yuki if he loves that part too. Yuki, stunned, nods because reality has apparently decided to be nice to him today. Our guy turns red and starts rambling about the parts of the manga he loves the most. What follows is a full-blown debate between the two lovebirds as they go back and forth over what they liked and what they totally disagreed on. Still looking like a tomato about to explode, Yuki admits he had no idea Alice liked manga too and says he's honestly glad she enjoyed it. Now stuck in his head again, he starts wondering which manga he should lend her next, secretly praying she'll like that one just as much. It's another lovely day, and like any certified loser would, Yuki finds himself left out once again after the teacher announces that everyone needs to find a partner. The task is to draw a classmate's portrait, so naturally everyone scrambles to pair up, buzzing with excitement. Some try to play it cool, while others basically start barking orders like they are leading a military operation. Meanwhile, the tragic hero is busy admiring the floor, slowly coming to terms with just how painfully single he is. Right then, the class gangster strolls over and casually asks Alice if she wants to pair up with him. She doesn't even bother responding and glides right past him like the man was part of the furniture. Without missing a beat, she pulls a chair in front of Yuki and plops down like she owns the place. Yuki turns red yet again, and Alice goes ahead and breaks the silence, casually asking if he is flying solo today. She then mentions that she hasn't picked a partner either and casually offers to team up with him. Yuki stays frozen in his shy little bubble, completely silent and redder than ever. Meanwhile, the rest of the class looks around in confusion, wondering why a pretty princess would ask just ain't nobody kind of guy to pair with her. Since Yuki still doesn't say a word, Alice leans in and calls him out for not even looking at her. She points out, half annoyed, that he won't be able to finish the portrait project if he refuses to actually see the person he's supposed to draw. When the blushing buffoon keeps avoiding eye contact, Alice suggests they play a game where they stare at each other for 10 full seconds. She throws in a warning that the loser will have to face a punishment, and without waiting for any kind of approval from Yuki, she starts the countdown on her own. By the time she hits 4, the guy has already turned into a steaming red tomato, completely melting under the pressure and losing the game in the most predictable way possible. Alice, who begins to blush herself, quickly hides her face behind her sketchbook and points out how red his face has gotten. Even though she tries to act cool, she grips the sketchbook tighter, clearly flustered as well. Once the 10-second round is done, she proposes to up the challenge to 30 seconds, but before they get started, she insists that Yuki first accept his punishment for losing. She pauses to think about what kind of punishment she should give him, leaving the guy completely confused and low-key panicking over his fate. He starts wondering if she's the kind of person who'd go easy on him, or if she's got some strict streak hidden underneath that pretty face. The next day in art class, Yuki sits there clearly looking anxious about something when Alice suddenly walks up to him without any warning. Turns out, he's waiting for some kind of punishment from Alice because he somehow lost to her in a starring contest during class. His mind spirals into all the weird and embarrassing stuff middle school bullies used to pull on him, but he snaps out of his tragic daydream when Alice says she's already made up her mind. With a totally serious face, she tells him he has to let her take a picture, which makes Yuki have a serious mental breakdown. She scrolls through her phone for a second, then blushes as she pulls up a filter that's been trending on TikTok and tells him to do the same pose as the girl in the video, no questions asked. Before he even gets a chance to react, she tells her good little boy to hurry up and pose for her, so he makes a face that ends up looking more awkward than anything else. Alice looks at him clearly unimpressed and says he should act like a cute little kitty. He looks at her with puppy eyes, but she tells him to man up and think of a way fast. Burying all the non-existent self-respect he has, Yuki raises his little paw and does his best attempt at a meow while Alice watches him with the most deadpan expression imaginable and casually snaps a picture. Right after that, Yuki immediately wishes he could jump off a cliff before embarrassment eats him alive, but then he hears her quietly mumble that she'd honestly give the pic 5 stars. As he thinks his picture probably looks worse than his chances at getting a girl, Alice blushes and says that she finds his photo pretty cute. Just then, their teacher, whose love life is probably drier than Yuki's cat impression, interrupts the oddly wholesome moment and tells the two to cut it out with the flirting. When class ends, Yuki thanks her with a barely functioning voice and tries to sneak out as fast as possible, but someone tugs on his suit jacket from behind before he can escape. To his surprise, Alice is grabbing his behind tightly while refusing to look him in the eye like she wants to say something. Before he can ask her what's up, Alice pulls the most giga-chad move of the century and tells him she wants to send him the picture, but oh, how can she do that without his phone number? Yuki tries to slime his way out like the brain-dead NPC he is, and says he doesn't have a line on his phone. She gets up in his face and aggressively asks him if he lives under a rock like Patrick Star, and does not even have a Line account. Stepping even closer, Alice tells him that he better make an account because there's no way she can ever reach him if she actually needs to, and her pure chaotic aura pushes him back so hard that he smacks his head lightly against the wall. Proving once again why Go-To Alice is the undisputed GOAT, she casually wall slams him to assert dominance and tells him that he has to make one just because she said so, and that's the rule now. Both of them suddenly realize things might have gotten a little too close for comfort, so Yuki awkwardly slides away and scrambles to send her a message right away. As he walks off, he feels just a tiny bit proud that his friend count has finally gone up by 1, even if he still doesn't have the social energy to message her first without combusting. Just then, some jock strolls up to Alice and asks what she's smiling at on her phone that's got her grinning like that, but she coldly stares at him and tells him to kindly vanish from her personal space before walking off like a queen. Little does he know, the only guy who even exists in her contact list besides her family is none other than a shy and mildly brain-damaged protagonist. The next day, Yuki is chilling at home completely zoned out playing games on his phone until he gets super drained and finally decides it's time to sleep. But just before he can shut his phone off and commit to sleep mode, he suddenly gets a booty call from Alice. She slides into his DMs with the kind of smooth energy he could never replicate in a million years and casually asks if he's still awake. His heart races wondering about what she could possibly want from him at this ungodly hour, and the moment his phone dings again, he nearly flatlines from a full-blown heart attack. She asks what he's up to, so he responds with the saddest answer possible and says he's watching anime shorts before crying himself to sleep. Yuki cringes hard and musters up all his brain power to recover from that painfully boring reply, but Alice quickly changes the subject and asks where he got his cute little profile picture from. That's when it hits him that he never changed it after getting into high school, and it's from a game he binged during his peak no-life phase. He straight up tells her it's a game character, and starts sweating buckets thinking she might find him mega cringe. To make things even worse, she ghosts him, leaving him drowning in regret over possibly ruining his only shot at ever talking to a girl. He checks his phone again just to confirm that, yes, his life really is cooked, but right as he's drifting off to sleep with the only warm thing to hug being his phone, a sudden vibration jolts him awake, which turns out to be a call from Alice. Yuki instantly shoots up in bed and starts shaking like a broken vending machine. Pulling together all the courage he has left, he answers the call and manages a small high. The second she softly says his name, his heart nearly gives out, and he starts breathing like he just sprinted to school with toast in his mouth. Alice notices and teases him about the heavy breathing, so he awkwardly apologizes for acting like such an NPC. To his surprise, she also says sorry and explains she didn't ghost him because he's boring, but her family just pulled her away during their chat. Then she smoothly picks up where they left off and brings up his profile picture again, making Yuki panic about whether he should admit the truth and risk losing his non-existent dignity and self-respect. But before he can overthink it, she tells him her younger brother plays the same game, and that she actually finds it kind of cute, just like him, so she'd love to hear more about it next time. Right after that, Alice casually tells him to hold for a bit and flips on video chat, which completely stuns Yuki when he sees her wearing a night dress. She seems totally unaware that the camera shows everything from head to toe, so the guy, being the white knight he is, nervously lets her know it's on. When she notices his bright red face, hers turns even redder and she quickly blurts out a rushed goodnight and smashes the decline button. Yuki is completely stunned, realizing that's what she actually wears to bed. Both of them end up curling into their own blankets with matching embarrassment and clearly don't get much sleep that night, unless they manage to calm themselves down somehow. The next day, Yuki is all worked up thinking about last night, when a Miss Eats-A-Lot suddenly approaches and asks if he's even listening. Watching a zero-threat girl get so cozy with her man makes Alice grit her teeth. Still, instead of blowing up, she decides to learn more about that game he used to play. As Yuki walks past her, eyes glued to the ground, she calmly calls his name. But before she knows it, the pudgy girl is right by her side, chatting away in his ear. It doesn't take her long to notice the way the girl is blushing, as she flirts with him so much that even a tutorial NPC like him doesn't bite. Alice then claims herself down and pulls out her phone to doom scroll the depression away. But the girl's obnoxiously loud voice steals her attention, so she looks at her again, showering Yuki with compliments for helping her out like a good boy, and that line sends Alice off the deep end. Before she can mentally recover, the school jocks decide it's a great time to bother her. She ignores them like background noise and keeps her focus locked on Yuki, who's apparently fallen into the ugly girl's little trap. Later in class, she slaps her table from behind to snap him out of it, but he doesn't even flinch. So she calmly jabs a finger into his back, making him squeak, and when he turns to ask what's wrong, she hits the filthy degenerate with the silent treatment he deserves. He glances back once more and sees that she genuinely looks upset. So once class ends, he chickens out like usual and attempts to slip out unnoticed, but Alice spots him with her laser-like stare and asks if he has something planned. He rushes off and claims he's super busy, which only deepens Alice's sour mood. After that, she returns to class alone and looks out the window. Eventually, she picks up her phone again and opens the game, thinking maybe she could win him back if she invites him to play with her. As she stares at the screen, her emotions finally take control and the tears start to fall freely. She keeps seeing images of him right in front of her while she wipes her eyes and calls him a baka. Just then, Yuki walks into the room looking a bit confused. Holding a broom in one hand, he notices her presence and strolls by casually, so she asks why he hasn't gone home yet. He tells her the student council had to leave suddenly and now no one else is left for cleaning duty. It takes Alice a moment to connect the dots, and she quickly figures out that the chubby girl all over his business might actually be on the student council. She suddenly jumps out of her chair with a loud screech that grabs his attention and asks if the girl he spoke to is a member, which he confirms. Once Alice realizes how weird the fantasy in her head sounds, her face turns red. When Yuki asks why she's still in class, she catches him off guard by saying she wants him to teach her the game. The next morning, Yuki feels completely washed after a long night spent helping the student council with their work when he suddenly spots Alice waiting for him at the gate. He stands there, totally flabbergasted that she would actually wait for a boring guy like him after school, and even asks if she hit her head or something. With those signature puppy eyes, she asks him if he has some time to teach her about the game he used to play, and just like that, every ounce of exhaustion vanishes from the simp of the year. She then catches him off guard by suggesting they could go over it while walking home together, which instantly leaves him blushing like a little kid. As they stroll through the streets, an awkward silence quickly falls between them since Yuki lasts in conversations about as well as he does in bed. He feels super embarrassed that there's absolutely nothing to talk about since it's the first time a girl has ever walked home with him. Right then, Alice gently breaks the silence by asking if he enjoys watching movies, and Yuki says he's cool with it, so she tells him there's a film based on the game he likes playing in cinemas right now. Since he still doesn't catch the hint, she asks if he's already seen it, and he rambles about not having the time before going quiet again. Realizing he has the awareness of soggy tissue paper and might never ask her out, she just says she would like to see the movie. Yuki throws her a confused look as she freezes up, then shyly adds that she wants to watch it with someone who actually understands the series but can't seem to find anyone like that. Tired of carrying the entire conversation like a queen, Alice tells him it would really suck if she ended up watching it all alone. Hearing that, the rusty gears in Yuki's head grind so loud that Alice practically hears them, and she finally accepts his smooth brain might never catch the signal, so she just flat out asks if he's free over the weekend. After giving her a dumbfounded look, Yuki tells her he has no life and no wife, so he's as free as they come. Alice happily mentions that she's also free on Sunday and pauses for a second, hoping he might ask her out, but Bro just tells her to enjoy herself and casually strolls away, leaving her standing there completely stunned by how clueless the guy she fell for really is. Alice takes a deep breath, and with the most lethal look she's shown so far, she says goodbye and watches him set a record-breaking no-hit speed run on his love life. Even though she seriously wanted to see the movie with him, Alice turns around and begins to walk away, but her feelings overpower her logic, so she spins back again and runs after Yuki with determination. She calls out his name, grabs his arm, and locks eyes with him while panting like she just sprinted through a whole marathon. As things get slightly awkward, Alice digs deep for courage and tells him they're going to watch that movie together on the weekend, whether he wants to or not, making Yuki seriously question what planet he must have saved in his past life to get a girl like her to ask him out. It seems he thinks himself unworthy of going to the movies with someone like her, which ticks Alice off. She repeats once more that she wants to watch it with him and only him, no one else. Yuki finally grows a pair and tells her it's a deal, so she lights up with joy and runs off, shouting that she'll text him the time and place they're supposed to meet. Our protagonist stands there in a complete daze, totally lost on how a beta male like him just managed to score a real date with the hottest girl in school by doing absolutely nothing at all. The next evening, Yuki finds himself incredibly confused about what exactly he should wear to his date with Alice, flipping through his entire stash of Ahegao hoodies and graphic anime t-shirts. Eventually, he accepts that he's a broke bum who never actually bought proper clothes outside of school uniforms and whatever his mom threw into his closet. It hits him fast that he has no real choice but to visit a clothing store, so he puts together the best fit he can manage and makes his way to the spot where he's supposed to meet Alice, only to see a model-tier woman standing there, casually minding her own business. As he takes a closer look, it finally sinks in that it's actually her, and the moment their eyes meet, a chill shoots straight through him from head to toe. Chapter 21, her poker face quickly shifts into a bright smile the moment she recognizes him, and without wasting a second, she runs over to greet him with a cheerful hi. While she begins to ask him something, he can't seem to pull his eyes away from Alice in what looks like her final form, radiating a completely different aura from her usual school uniform self. Catching him blushing like a shy little girl, she teasingly asks if he's finished checking her out, and if they can head inside to watch the movie, while he silently prays she didn't catch him scanning her from head to toe. With that, Yuki firmly decides to make this date a full success, but it turns out they need to wait for a while since the line at the ticket counter is unusually long. Noticing that, she tells him to sit and chill for a bit, then soon returns holding a cold drink, which she suddenly presses against his face from behind. As he turns around, completely flustered and caught off guard, she gives him a warm smile and thanks him for taking some of his valuable time out to spend with her. Bro dies on the inside, realizing this is what the kind of move the guy is supposed to pull, but then admits in his head that the only Riz he has is in his dreams. Inside the theater, Alice mentions it's her first time watching a live-action movie, but Yuki can hardly breathe while sitting next to a real girl who's way too close for comfort. The moment their shoulders lightly brush, his heart nearly pops out of his scrawny chest. Thinking about how close she sits next to him, the degenerate starts focusing on how soft her breathing sounds and how insanely good she smells, while Alice is fully locked onto the horror scene playing out on the big screen. Just then, a skeleton jump scares the princess, and the shock hits Alice so hard that she suddenly throws herself into a tight bear hug around the poor protagonist. Yuki quietly takes a second to soak in the moment like it's a dream. After she finally lets go, Alice apologizes to him in a soft voice and makes a quick exit, since both of them are clearly struggling to keep their hearts under control. Once the movie wraps up, their cute little date comes to a close, and Alice tells him with a smile that she really had a great time. He starts feeling a little guilty for not paying proper attention to the movie at all, since his mind stayed completely fixated on her the entire time. Caught in a loop of self-doubt, he convinces himself that she probably finds talking to him about as thrilling as chatting with a wet sock because he barely says anything. But when Yuki turns to look at her, he's surprised to see her smiling like she genuinely enjoyed their time together. Standing on a bridge, he stares at her soft, rosy cheeks like he's watching the final glow of a perfect sunset, and that intense gaze almost gives Alice a nosebleed on the spot. She gets so adorably flustered that even Yuki begins to pick up on the vibe that she might actually be into him. Playing it smooth, Alice shyly says she had a lot of fun and asks if he wants to hang out again sometime, and the moment he says yes, her face instantly lights up. With that, she steps in closer with a cheerful smile, forcing him to look back, and says he finally turned around. Enjoying every second of the beautiful moment, Yuki doesn't know yet that his life is about to take a big turn. Yuki lies in bed looking like a homeless man who just rolled out of a cardboard box when something suddenly vibrates in his pants. That jolts him awake, and he instantly grabs his phone to check the message he just got from Alice. Still half asleep from staying up way too late the night before doing what every guy his age does, gaming obviously, he feels a bit confused about why she would text him this early. In the chat, he is absolutely stunned to see she sent him pictures of herself buying some swimsuits, and casually asks which one he likes better. My guy seriously has no idea why she cares about his opinion on something so personal, and instantly starts getting steamy thoughts about what she might actually look like wearing them. He stares at the photos for an unholy amount of time, and then ends up sending the most clown reply ever, saying both of them look fantastic on such a fine lady like her. Inside the store, Alice hears her phone ringing and really looks forward to seeing what her future hubby chose for her, only to realize he's more disappointing than the ending of Attack on Titan. Meanwhile, Yuki's heart pounds like a drum as he wonders why she ghosted him all of a sudden. Then Alice finally texts him back and explains that she took forever trying to decide which swimsuit looked best, then asks him to guess which one she picked, stuffing his brain with all kinds of spicy thoughts. On her end, since he's taking his sweet time to respond, Alice starts to wonder if she might have gone a little too hard on the poor guy. Meanwhile, Yuki sweats like he's stuck in the two-button meme and struggles to come up with the perfect reply. He nearly drops his phone when she texts him to give her a guess, so bro admits he's got IQ lower than a monkey, so it is impossible for him to figure it out, which pisses Alice off enough to rage text that it's honestly a shame that the only way he'll ever know is if he tags along to the beach with her or something. She puts on her game face and lets him make the choice, leaving Yuki at a loss for words. Reading her message puts Yuki in a real bind. On one hand, he really wants to witness the beauty that is Alice in a steamy swimsuit, but at the same time, his lack of social skills and boring NPC energy make him think he'll just sit alone and play games, turning the whole thing awkward for both of them. Still, since he doesn't exactly have a social life and already plans to spend most of his summer break chilling at home, he figures it might not be that bad after all. So, pulling together every ounce of courage he can find, he replies that the beach feels like a bit too much for him, but he's totally cool with going to a pool with her instead. Meanwhile, the second her phone buzzes, Alice whips it out with full of suspense, and the moment she reads that he's coming along, she nearly explodes with excitement and does a victory pose right there in the middle of the street. On the day of their date, they spot the staff advertising a romantic photo booth with a special line just for couples that's almost completely empty compared to the one packed with guys playing life on solo like Yuki. Out of nowhere, Alice casually says she really wants to take a photo with him, which makes Yuki panic like she just asked him to do something crazy, and he starts coming up with random excuses, but she lets him know his punishment from art class isn't over. Hearing that, he goes totally speechless and stares at the templates with some really steamy photos of couples and wonders if she's actually being serious, finding it kind of wild how she stays calm knowing she will do the same with him. Hearing the couple right next to them get way too romantic, Yuki gets flustered completely out of his mind and tries to steer Alice away by suddenly saying he hasn't gone on a water slide in forever. She bites, but then he goes on about how sad and painfully lonely his childhood was, which instantly and completely ruins the mood for the couple standing next to them. The flirty lady casually turns around and tells her boyfriend that she sees a really cute young couple standing behind them. But as soon as the guy looks back, he is quick to tell her he is obviously just her brother, which destroys any aura points Yuki has gathered over the years in an instant. He slouches deeper into depression after being called her brother so casually. But the boyfriend doesn't stop there and even goes as far as saying that someone like her is way too hot for a little boy like him. Yuki gives an awkward smile at the guy's blunt comments and tries his best not to break into tears right on the spot, thinking he really should know his place and let go of the delusion that someone like Alice sees him as more than a friend. But then, she suddenly grabs his hand tightly, and he notices her blushing just as much as him, slowly patching up some of the emotional damage he's taken. They move to another spot, and Alice gets in a little too close for comfort to snap a cute selfie and capture the moment from their fun little trip. Once it ends, Yuki immediately covers up and silently thanks the heavens that she didn't come any closer than that. But Alice says straight up that he needs to squeeze in tighter because half his face is missing from the frame. Without realizing his pants are basically one breath away from exploding, she tells him to stop stalling and scoot over already. So Yuki tries as hard as he can to lean in for the photo and shuts his eyes completely to survive. Alice then asks why he's suddenly trying to cosplay Brock from Pokemon out of nowhere, but he keeps them shut tight because of the life or death situation for him down below. Seeing how ridiculously stubborn Yuki acts, she leans in and teases him by blowing a light breeze right into his ear, which immediately gets his eyes to shoot open. She then grabs his face with no hesitation and stares into his soul as she tells him to pose like a normal person and take the darn picture already. Before he ends up having a stroke from staring at her too long, Yuki apologizes and promises her that he will behave like a normal human for the photo this time. After that awkward moment, they both get on the bus and finally start heading back home. Alice asks whether he enjoyed his time with her, which he absolutely did without a doubt. He gazes out the window and thinks about all the wild things he got to see and feel during the trip, and feels happy he didn't waste the holidays stuck at home doing Netflix and chill alone. Still, the one thing that keeps bothering him through all of that is why she would invite someone like him to the pool in the first place, proving once again that there really is no element in this universe more dense than him. Lost in thought, he stares at her and wonders if maybe, just maybe, there's a tiny chance she could actually have some kind of romantic interest in him. But he gets scared when Alice turns around and asks what's going on inside his head. Noticing just how pretty she looks, he throws that train of thought right off a cliff and figures he is high on copium, because it would be insane to think someone like her could like a guy who looks like he suffers from malnutrition. Then he lets out a heavy sigh and hugs his backpack tight just to feel a little bit better. A few hours later, Alice finds a super cute reel online and tells Yuki to check it out. But by that time, he's already deep in dreamland and snoring like a grandpa. Looking at him sleep like a baby, she thinks it's kind of cute and keeps her eyes on him before giving him a little poke like he is her pet. His expression shifts into a goofy grin as he dreams about who knows what, and Alice quickly snaps a picture before she accidentally uses burst mode and ends up filling half her phone's storage with random shots of his silly little face. She realizes she did an oopsie, but something about Yuki's cuteness keeps pulling her back to an obsessive level, so she forces herself to turn away. Still, the moment she sees that smile again on her screen almost sends her brain into a cuteness meltdown. After a while, she checks to make sure he's fully asleep and glances around to confirm nobody is nearby. Once the coast is clear, Alice decides she's going to commit the ultimate sin for just 1 second and gently drops her head on his shoulder. After her heart calms down a little, she looks up and realizes his face is now only a few inches from hers. But before she can react, she feels something soft on her head, and next thing she knows, he leans in and rests his own head against hers, making them look painfully adorable together. Listening to him mumble softly in his sleep, Alice notices how close his lips are and takes a slow, focused look at his face from up close. She leans in closer until their lips are barely apart, but feels way too embarrassed to go through with it while keeping her eyes open, so she shuts them tight as she feels her heart race. Right when she gets just an inch away from stealing a secret kiss, Yuki bangs his knee hard against the train wall and suddenly jolts awake, scaring her stiff. Still clutching his bag like it's the only thing in the world that loves him, he figures he dozed off without realizing, but then gets completely shocked after seeing her princess tear face resting on his shoulder. Flustered beyond belief, he almost screams her name out loud but stops himself just in time to appreciate the moment, knowing something like this won't happen again. As he feels her soft skin against him, he thinks she looks beautiful even when she's completely out cold. What he doesn't notice at all, though, is that her whole body shakes like an engine and her cheeks are rosy like strawberries. It is already winter and Yuki finds himself struggling just to make it to school. Apparently there exists no season kind enough to spare the protagonist, who's built like a half-used chopstick, whether it's summer or winter. While dragging himself through the chilly morning, he happens to come across Alice, who casually greets him with a cheerful good morning as soon as she spots him. With their breaths visibly fogging up the air between them, she points out how the weather has taken a sharp turn and suddenly gotten freezing. Yuki absolutely agrees, Though what really messes with his head is how Alice manages to walk around so casually in those ridiculously light clothes, while he looks like a walking cold symptom waiting to happen. As if she reads his mind, Alice notices her crush is clearly freezing, and without a word of warning, grabs his hand and shoves it straight into her jacket pocket. As always, the guy blushes like it's his full-time job, but the moment his hand slips into that pocket, he finally uncovers the mystery behind how Alice stays so relaxed in this freezing mess. A wave of heat washes over him as he realizes she's tucked a warm pad in there, keeping everything toasty and comfortable like a portable heater. Alice casually asks how it feels and mentions that the warm pad is her secret weapon against the cold. Yuki keeps staring at the girl without saying a word until both of them end up looking like boiled tomatoes from the second-hand embarrassment. Alice quickly pulls her hand back and apologizes, claiming that just sharing a pocket might not be the best way to get warm anyway. But Yuki, now with one hand less frozen and a heart 20 degrees warmer, starts thinking maybe winter is not that bad after all. Late at night, the screech of a passing train echoes in the distance while Alice seems to be entertaining a guest. Meanwhile, Yuki is curled up in bed, completely out of it and moving like a rag doll. His fever has hit hard, making every little movement a struggle, but the only thing keeping him from falling apart entirely is the string of memories he shares with Alice, which somehow still manage to give him strength. Back at Alice's place, she is almost done with her bath when her guest walks up to the bathroom door and casually asks if she is finished. Alice responds that she might need a little more time. Seizing the chance to kill some boredom, the guest wanders off and heads straight for her room, hopping to dig up a new comic to pass the time. He slams open the door and finds some evidence on the table which gives him the impression that Alice is hiding something, or maybe someone, from him. The next morning, Yuki drags himself to school looking completely drained. Turns out the guy wasted his entire night playing some ridiculous RPG where he was being escorted by a knight on some grand quest. Just his luck, he ends up bumping into Alice again, which pretty much confirms that Lady Luck seems to be siding with him lately. As they walk side by side, an awkward silence starts to hang in the air until Yuki finally decides to break it and greets her with a shy hello. Alice looks a little surprised at first, but then gives him a soft smile in return. That one smile is all it takes to settle Yuki's nerves as things seem to be going all right. He considers bringing up what happened yesterday, but before he can say a word, the girl gently speaks up and says there is something she wants to tell him. Yuki tunes in completely, curious to hear what Alice wants to say. But the moment she catches sight of his anxious expression, she hesitates and brushes it off, casually saying she'll save it for later. Just like that, she walks ahead, leaving the poor guy hanging and feeling totally ignored. With no choice left, Yuki heads into class and quietly takes the seat next to her while the professor drones on with another one of his boring and painfully dull lectures. As Yuki pulls out his pen and begins scribbling down the lecture, his mind drifts off, stuck on what Alice might have wanted to say earlier. Being his usual dramatic self, he jumps straight to the worst-case scenario, imagining that she was about to tell him to stop acting so smug or pretending like they're actual close friends. That thought alone sends a whole wave of anxiety crashing over him, and before he knows it, he starts sweating like he just ran a marathon, all because he remembers how casually he greeted her this morning. The mental pressure piles up so badly that he ends up dropping his pen mid-sentence, thinking maybe he really has gotten a little too carried away. Once the lecture finally wraps up and the teacher walks out, casual chatter begins popping up across the classroom, and just as Yuki sits there frozen in a puddle of nerves, Alice reaches out and taps him from behind. She brings up the morning, saying there was something she meant to tell him. Before she can go on, Yuki starts thinking whether he should ask her to come over to his place since he figures she might actually enjoy the game he's been hooked on. Just as he's about to speak, Alice ends up beating him to it, and completely catching him off guard, invites him over to her place instead. As expected, the guy blushes like a broken heater and agrees on the spot without managing to get a single word out. The next day, Yuki gets dressed while trying to manage his nerves, since this would be the very first time he's visiting a girl's house. But the moment he reaches their meeting spot, he freezes on the spot after spotting his friend standing beside some tall, sturdy-looking guy. Instantly, every worst-case scenario imaginable crashes into his empty head, where not even a single brain cell is working, and only panic seems to be growing like weeds. He slowly backs away step by step, until he ends up hiding behind a nearby tree, peeking out like a suspicious squirrel trying to eavesdrop. As he crouches there like a professional stalker, he starts questioning why he's even hiding, and more importantly, whether this guy towering beside Alice is just a friend or something more. Just then, Alice snaps at the guest, bursting out with anger as she tells him to quit acting like an idiot and leave her alone already. While the big guy stubbornly holds his ground, Yuki starts to wonder if this is some pickup attempt on the only girl in the world who even notices he exists. Seeing them argue right in front of him, Yuki tries to come up with something he could do that wouldn't make him look like a total idiot. For a second, he even thinks about stepping up and taking on the big muscular guy head-on. But just one glance at those biceps sends a cold wave of regret down his spine, making him immediately drop the dumb idea of throwing hands in some imaginary ring. As he keeps staring from behind his leafy hiding spot, he notices how clearly uncomfortable Alice looks around the guy who's now just one step away from snatching the only girl he ever stood a chance with. However, seeing her that uncomfortable finally wakes up the tiger that had been snoring inside the guy this whole time. And with that sudden rush of bravery, he somehow musters up enough courage to walk straight toward them, deciding it's finally time to take a stance for his friend. As he steps in and stands beside the two, a sudden wave of nerves crashes into him. Yuki tries to speak up and asks the guy who he is, but the moment he tries looking into his eyes, all he can see is a terrifying wall of muscle practically radiating the urge to punt him across the street. Trying his best not to lose his composure, Yuki stays in place while the big guy makes no effort to step back either. Instead, he stretches out his arm and pulls Alice in closer, even hugging her a little, which shoots Yuki's blood pressure through the roof and turns him into a blushing furnace. The muscular guy calmly tells him they're in the middle of something, and that barging in like this is crossing a line. But Alice quickly steps in and tells the big guy to stop right there. Seeing them hug hits Yuki right in whatever's left of his manly pride, and he desperately tries to figure out what he's supposed to do now to save the love he sees slipping away with every passing second. Just then, Alice blurts out that she's had enough and tells the big muscular guy to knock it off already. As she tries to pull herself free, the guy finally lets her go, realizing she's not playing around anymore. Alice wastes no time scolding him, saying he already knew about her connection to Yuki and still went ahead with this mess just to stir things up, calling him the worst without holding back. Meanwhile, poor Yuki just stands there like a backup extra in his own love story, watching the whole thing unfold right in front of his eyes, fully aware that he couldn't even do a thing to stop any of it. Alice finally turns to Yuki and decides it's time he gets the attention he deserves, dropping a serious comment that the big guy is none other than her actual brother, something that could be proven on the spot with DNA fingerprinting if needed. This announcement nearly petrifies Yuki, who was already halfway through mourning the tragic end of a love story that hadn't even properly started. Meanwhile, the big muscular brother stands tall and proud in front of them like he owns the sidewalk, confidently declaring that he's already made up his mind and will be tagging along with them to give them a little company, whether they like it or not. The next thing you know, it's already the next day, and somehow, against all odds and basic logic, Yuki finds himself in a girl's room for the first time in his entire life. What makes it even more ridiculous is that he now ends up over the girl in a position way too inappropriate for someone who was just supposed to be visiting. The poor guy clearly hadn't signed up for this chaos, as the situation spirals into even more awkward territory with every second ticking by. Rewinding to an hour earlier, Yuki is sitting inside Alice's flat with her overly dedicated brother, pretending to supervise them while slowly dozing off like some old night watchman halfway through his shift. Whatever stroke of lady luck that got the guy into a girl's place clearly ran out of steam the moment her brother tagged along like an unwanted bonus. Alice protests and questions why her brother even followed them here, but the guy responds with some excuse so random that it doesn't even make any sense. Trying to make his weird presence seem less creepy, the intruder claims that he's only here to hang out with his very own sister, and insists that this kind of bonding time shouldn't be something anyone has a problem with. Our poor guy clutches his bag like it's his last line of defense, wondering if he's actually going to get a single peaceful moment under this constant surveillance. Alice tries to ease his nerves and tells him not to worry, assuring him that everything will be fine. Yuki then slowly zips open his bag and pulls out a gaming console, mentioning that he brought it along because Alice had said they'd be playing games together. Alice's face instantly lights up like a kid on birthday, and she gets all overly excited, asking him to hurry and show it to her. Meanwhile, The self-appointed security guard on watch duty lazily peeks over and happens to spot something on the gaming console that suddenly catches his interest. He suddenly yanks Yuki's hand with a sharp jerk, causing the gaming console to slip and fall from his grip. In an instant, Alice's brother shifts from casual to completely serious, and even though Yuki tries to resist, he gets dragged along as the muscle head insists they need to talk in private. Alice quickly steps in, standing up for her crush and demanding an explanation for what exactly her brother thinks he's doing. The guy argues back, saying there's something genuinely important he needs to ask, and pulls Yuki away like it's some kind of secret mission. Watching her poor guy being hauled off like a criminal under investigation, Alice shouts after them, warning her brother not to do anything weird. Meanwhile, Yuki's spirit has clearly already left the building, floating somewhere far, far away. Her brother storms into his room, dragging the guy along like a sack of potatoes, and finally lets go once they're inside. Yuki's face instantly gets drenched in sweat, with his anxiety levels skyrocketing by the second. The big muscular dude locks eyes on him, making a face so terrifying it could easily scare off even Ash Ketchum straight back to Pallet Town. A thick dark aura seems to radiate from Alice's brother as he turns to face Yuki, looking like he's about to unload a complaint that could shift the tectonic plates. Yuki does everything in his power to avoid eye contact, glancing away while his entire body shakes like a busted washing machine on spin cycle. And just like that, the muscle head cuts to the chase and drops the most unexpected question of all, asking the boy if he happens to be the legendary Master Ajapan from that RPG game. All this commotion over just a game leaves poor Yuki frozen on the spot, while the big guy wastes no time and rushes to plug in his PC, ready to prove a point. Outside the room, Alice waits in mild confusion, wondering what her brother is trying to pull off with her crush. Her brother boots up the game and proudly reveals his in-game character on the screen. The sight instantly jogs Yuki's memory back to just a few days ago when he had been gaming with a random but really cool dude. And before long, the two of them hit it off like lifelong buddies. After becoming friends, that guy in the game even promised to shower him with treasures and kept calling him his master as if he had found a gaming prodigy. Yuki stands there in utter disbelief as it finally clicks that the same cool gamer named Kuga is none other than Alice's very own musclehead brother. Without wasting a second, the big guy grabs Yuki's hands in a tight shake, excitedly explaining that he recognized his master the moment he saw him. He goes on to apologize sincerely for making him uncomfortable, and insists he had no idea that his sister's future hubby was actually his gaming master. Yuki's face flares up bright red like a sizzling chili as he struggles to spit out that he is definitely not her boyfriend. For the muscle head, that answer hits like a surprise jab as he leans in and asks again just to make sure. The red-hot chili tries to spit something out, but ends up fumbling his words even more, leaving the big guy even more confused. Alice's brother lets out a sigh and grabs onto the guy like he's about to give him life advice. He calls him his master again and tells him to just leave everything to him, saying he's got this covered. Dragging the poor guy back to the hall where his sister is still sitting there looking like she's lost all patience, the musclehead finally lets go of the shabby hero and gives him a break. He suddenly claims that something important just popped up and says he won't be back for a while. Right before leaving, the muscular, handsome dude gives the guy a cheeky little wink and quietly shuts the exit door behind him, leaving his master alone with his sister and finally giving them some time together. With the big guy finally out of the picture, Yuki ends up leaning awkwardly over the sofa, feeling ridiculously shy now that he's sitting in a girl's house for the first time in his life. His heart pounds like crazy and each beat feels louder than the last, as if it's about to burst straight out of his chest any second. He starts thinking about Kuga, who despite looking like a fully evolved boss from a fighting game, apparently turns out to be Alice's younger brother, and wonders why he suddenly took off without dropping a single clue about where he was headed. Those words Kuga said earlier about the two of them dadding, and how he would take care of everything keep ringing in his ears and only make things worse, throwing Yuki into an even deeper state of embarrassment. Just because that oversized watchdog declared such nonsense, the poor guy now feels way more self-conscious than he should, especially considering the only reason he even came here in the first place was to play some games with Alice. While this overly aware little punk sits quietly, completely lost in his own thoughts, the girl decides to break the silence and gently apologizes, admitting that she overheard the entire conversation between him and her brother. This unexpected confession ends up stunning the already flustered guy even further, and now he sits there looking like a full-blown mess, growing even more nervous by the second. Alice gives him a soft smile and asks if he felt annoyed by whatever her brother said earlier. The two exchange a glance, their faces clearly showing how shy they both feel, and when the slowpoke fails to respond, the poor girl, who is already worn out from always being the one to speak up first, starts to look a little down and gloomy. Yuki finally manages to string some words together and tells her that he didn't find it annoying at all, and in fact hearing all that actually made him kind of happy. This unexpected confession flutters Alice and makes her visibly shy, which in turn throws Yuki right back into his usual awkward mess as he reacts with embarrassment all over again. Wanting to move past this weird tension, Alice quickly decides to shake things up and casually offers to take him to her room instead. As Yuki stands there blinking and wondering why she would suddenly say something like that, Alice calmly explains her point that they can't really talk properly out here, especially since that uninvited watchman of a brother could randomly show up at any moment, so it makes more sense for them to head into her room where they won't get disturbed. Yuki, still holding tight to his title as the Lord of Shyness, heats up like a boiling tomato but eventually nods along and gets up ready to follow her lead. As the lady leads the way ahead, Yuki follows closely behind her until they reach her room. Alice grabs the doorknob and gets ready to open it while casually telling him that this right here is her own room. She then steps aside and lets the guy walk in, adding that her parents are going to be home pretty late today. Yuki definitely doesn't expect to hear something like that, and as Alice turns around to glance back at him, both of them instantly turn shy once again, with their faces heating up like a couple of nervous tomatoes. Alice quickly decides to cut through the awkward tension and repeats to him that this is in fact her room, just in case the poor guy's brain has short-circuited again. For a moment it feels like time freezes for the poor fellow, since this is the very first time he finds himself inside a girl's room. And obviously his mother doesn't count, because her room was always just his parents' room. He starts glancing around left and right like a monkey who has just escaped from the zoo and doesn't know what to do with his freedom. Alice throws him a look, the kind that silently screams through her eyes, asking why he is acting all twitchy and scanning everything like some kind of lunatic. Yuki flinches at her gaze and awkwardly apologizes without even knowing what exactly he is sorry for. Alice then sits on her bed with ease and tells Yuki to relax and take a seat wherever he feels comfortable. But when the poor clueless champ ends up taking way too long to decide where to park himself, the lady gives in and gestures at the spot next to her, which makes the already overcooked tomato get even hotter and shyer. The two end up exchanging another round of embarrassed glances, both of them clearly losing count of how many times they have already done that today. Yuki swallows hard as the thought suddenly hits him that he might actually reach third base the very first time he finds himself inside a girl's room. With all the courage he can possibly gather, he slowly inches closer to her like an old grandpa trying to relearn how to walk until he finally stands right in front of her. Out of nowhere, Jesus decides to be his wingman and he magically trips on a massive brick of air. But instead of falling to the side, he goes full send and crashes straight onto Alice, mounting on top of her like he's out here tamming a Minecraft horse in real life. This time, though, he doesn't act like his usual panic-stricken self, and instead locks eyes with her like a straight-up Chad. She locks eyes with him right back, and the two of them end up having a whole romantic conversation with just their eyes, until Alice suddenly lets out a weird noise. Even though she secretly wishes the moment could last longer too, she tells him that he's hurting her a bit, which instantly snaps him back into full beta mode as he quickly apologizes. Still, he holds her down and refuses to budge like he is locked into a championship wrestling match, while Alice throws him a look that practically says he should go ahead already. Chapter 62. Right then, there is a knock at the door as Kuga finally returns home, thinking he has given them plenty of alone time to mingle. Even so, he enters the house like he is sneaking into a bomb site in a round of Counter-Strike. At that moment, he hears his sister making some very happy noises and telling Yuki not to go any further, which makes Kuga feel proud of supporting such a player of a guy, proving that Yuki is so overpowered he even managed to rizz up her family. Kuga creeps closer, trying to get a look as he wonders what kind of next-level technique his future brother-in-law is pulling off to make his sister fold so fast. Despite promising himself he would never interrupt no matter what, Kuga's curiosity absolutely takes over his soul, and he ends up shattering the sacred bro code as he slams the door to Alice's room wide open, hopping to catch the legend right in the middle of his peak game. Inside, he stands completely flabbergasted as he spots the two just chilling casually on the rug. And the only thing Yuki has in his lethal lady-slaying hands turns out to be his Nintendo Switch. The entire scene looks so anticlimactic that Kuga secretly feels a little disappointed Yuki did not smash that thing like he's pounding mochi. With a straight face, the watchdog assures Yuki that he will try to come up with an even better setup next time. Yuki feels slightly guilty for failing to meet his expectations, but Kuga shrugs and simply wishes him better luck the next time. A few days later, Yuki drags a box nearly equal to his own weight as he volunteers to help out with the school festival setup. While he sweats his soul away, he watches other low-tier background characters like him drool over girls in cosplay and enjoy the maid cafe like it's heaven, while he himself works unpaid and even takes out the trash like a background NPC with max stamina. Eventually, his supervisor gives him a green light to take a break, so Yuki finally wanders off through the crowded school streets watching everyone laugh and enjoy the event, while he walks around looking like a homeless man passing through. Feeling defeated, he starts wishing there was someone he could actually enjoy this festival with. But what crushes him even more is finding out Alice joined a maid cafe, yet her classmates decided to keep her backstage instead of milking her princess tier appeal. Just then, Alice notices him walking past their stall, but he freezes in place and then starts heading quietly toward the exit, thinking she is way too popular and likely already has plans with someone else. He fears asking her out will make him look like a weirdo who doesn't know his place and might make things awkward for Alice. As he sits alone in the corner and reflects on his tragic existence as a bottom-tier man, a girl suddenly appears out of nowhere and bumps her shoulder right into him. The moment Yuki catches a glimpse of her bright smile, all the sadness inside his soul vanishes instantly as he realizes just how insanely adorable Alice looks today. She playfully tells him it's kinda creepy to just stare from a distance and then silently walk away, which throws him into panic mode as he scrambles to figure out how to admit that he actually came all this way just to ask her out. Yuki knows deep down he probably won't get another shot better than this one, so he prepares himself to ask her out. But before a single word comes out, a loud crowd of thirsty simps suddenly go wild over the maids next to them. When Alice catches how he reacts after locking eyes with two cutesy maids, she doesn't need long to realize that Yuki is clearly a sweaty otaku really thirsty for girls in maid costumes. She nudges him to tell the truth, so Yuki starts shaking like a tree in a hurricane and tries to come up with a way to explain he isn't into random girls off the street, but just wants to see his one and only crush, Alice, dressed up in a cute maid outfit. Alice pauses for a brief moment to think it over and then leads him into the back room, saying she wants to talk about something in private. Right then, someone calls them out and asks for a pair of helping hands. Being the people-pleaser that he naturally is, Yuki gives her a quick nod and heads off to help out, because saying no just isn't in his DNA. After the chaos finally dies down a little, the two lovebirds make their way backstage at last, where things feel a bit calmer. Alice stretches her legs with a quiet sigh and casually starts listing off all the delicious snacks she didn't get the chance to try thanks to being swamped with work. She adds that it's honestly a real tragedy that she missed out on enjoying the festival like everyone else. That smooth little comment breaks the ice instantly, and Yuki feels like there's no moment more perfect than now to go for it and ask her out properly. As Alice just stands there doing her best impression of an NPC patiently waiting for him to select a dialogue option, Yuki doubts himself and wonders if he should hit her with a wall slam or something dramatic to boost his odds. The fear that she might actually reject him eats away at him like a parasite. But even so, the guy locks in and tells himself that he needs to act like a real man at least once in his life. So with zero hesitation, he downs his juice box in one go like it's a chug-jug straight Fortnite, and that gives him the confidence to look her in the eyes like he's about to drop down on one knee and propose. After building up a bit of liquid courage, he says Alice's name with peak confidence while she tries her best to act like she totally wasn't secretly waiting for this exact moment. Yuki then finally asks if she feels okay walking around the festival with him. Watching how he stares straight into her eyes with sigma levels of determination makes her heart skip an entire beat. Without hesitating for even a second, she jumps out of her chair and says she's ready to head out right away before grabbing his hand and pulling him along. Yuki feels over the moon because it's been forever since a girl besides his own mom held his hand like that. But Alice suddenly lets go of his hand and tells him to wait there for a bit. He stands awkwardly in a crowd full of strangers he wants nothing to do with, and wonders what exactly she's up to until a super cute girl walking past catches everyone's attention. Yuki hears his name called from behind, and when he turns around to see her, his jaw nearly hits the pavement from how unreal she looks in a full maid outfit. He keeps staring at her like he is witnessing a vision of heaven and barely manages to say her name with his throat dry from that unexpected thirst trap. Feeling a bit awkward, Alice says she's doing this just for him today at the festival and even calls herself Yuki's personal maid for the rest of the day. Watching her pull off something this bold, he wonders if she's really okay going all out for a certified simp like him, and Alice flashes a smile that says she definitely is. With that settled, Yuki's first ever festival where he won't be spending the day alone finally kicks off. As Yuki moves through the bustling crowd following his dream girl, the attention of almost everyone around shifts entirely to her. A few guys eyeing Alice start whispering among themselves, wondering if they should shoot their shot and try approaching a girl that is insanely cute. However, the rest quickly recognize her as the school's untouchable celebrity Alice, and they realize that thugs like them wouldn't stand a chance with her anyway. While the crowd stares at the adorable maid with wishful eyes, hoping to somehow win her over, Alice casually waves at a nerdy-looking, frail guy walking behind her, leaving the onlookers scratching their heads trying to figure out if the two are siblings or what. After all, why else would someone like her be hanging out with a guy that painfully average? Yuki, on the other hand, still can't quite believe any of this is real. He keeps wondering if he's somehow trapped in a dream and even pinches his cheek hard just to wake himself up. But no, a walk with a cute maid at the cultural festival is actually happening for real. Alice glances back and asks what the shady guy is doing, telling him to hurry up if he doesn't want to be left behind. Yuki notices how the girl seems even more cheerful than usual and can't help but smile, feeling glad that he invited her along, even though she's clearly the one taking charge here. Alice then leads him straight to a takoyaki stall and turns to ask if he would like to share some with her. Yuki quickly nods yes, not willing to let any chance slip away. As they approach the stall, the guys there get baffled by the beauty of the cute maid and offer her a free plate along with a bonus. But as expected, Alice forcefully pays for the snack and then takes Yuki along to sit down and eat it with her. As Yuki opens the box, he takes in the delicious smell and feels pretty satisfied. Alice decides not to hold back and picks up a takoyaki, bringing it close to his mouth. She argues that she still hasn't done anything that fits her role in the maid outfit, and calling him her master, tells him to say ah while she stuffs him up with food. Yuki gets overly embarrassed and ends up choking a little, the food getting stuck in his throat, which gives the girl quite the scare as she quickly checks if he's all right. She then drags him over for a drink to help him recover and afterwards heads straight to a game stall, where Yuki finally shows he's not completely useless by scoring a win and grabbing a cute teddy bear just for her. Just when Yuki finally gets to enjoy a rare moment in his first ever not-so-lonely festival, a group of middle schoolers crowd around Alice, shoving him out of the way. As he stands there watching, the girls gush over how much they admire her and call her cute, while the boys step up trying their luck, inviting her to join them for the rest of the festival and even asking to take photos with her. All of this hits Yuki hard as he starts sinking into his own thoughts, realizing just how out of place he feels. On one side is this dazzling school beauty who shines like a star, pulling everyone in without even trying, and on the other is someone like him, a complete nobody with nothing to offer. The poor guy breaks down inside, overwhelmed as he compares her shining presence to his invisible self, thinking they belong in entirely opposite worlds, and he never stood a chance with her to begin with. With those dark thoughts piling up and crushing him, Yuki turns around and starts walking away, feeling like the only thing he can do now is run far from her. He keeps thinking about heading back home, already convinced in his mind that there's no place for him anymore and that he probably isn't needed at all. As he drags his feet through the cheerful crowd around him, Yuki moves with a heart weighed down by sadness, his face clouded with gloom and his eyes dangerously close to spilling tears. Just before he can completely vanish into the sea of people or let himself break down entirely, his dream girl shows up right behind him, still holding the teddy bear he won for her and grabbing onto his hand like she refuses to let it go. She asks where he thinks he's going and scolds him for trying to disappear without saying anything, clearly upset that he would even think of leaving her behind like that. Still drowning in his sulky mood, The broken-hearted tomato can barely mumble as he asks how on earth she even managed to find him in the middle of such a massive crowd. With her usual spark, Alice gives a soft smile and tells him that she'd find him no matter where he went, and that one line is more than enough to set his face on fire as he turns bright red once again. She keeps holding onto his arm, not letting him slip away, and tells him that the after-festival party is just about to kick off, and there's no way she's letting him run off like that again. Holding him even tighter than before, she looks up at him and says she wants to enjoy the rest of the night with him. After that, the two head outside toward the giant bonfire under the calm, starry sky. Yuki sits there looking like his grandma died because he feels a bit cold and suddenly sneezes so loud that Alice gets really worried for a moment. She asks if he's okay, but he just stares blankly into the crowd and finally asks her why she's such a total bae and always treats him so kindly, even though he has the presence of a telephone pole. Hearing such a strange question, Alice feels oddly shocked to see how low his self-esteem actually is. Flustered, she tries to give him the reason, but her lips refuse to move, so Yuki waits in awkward suspense. The moment Alice finally builds up the courage to say something, Jesus hits the button and sends fireworks flying to censor her, just to make sure this sweet story doesn't wrap up too soon. Alice feels super embarrassed putting herself out there like that, but Bro just apologizes and lets her know he's both dumb and deaf because he didn't catch a single word she said. That makes Alice so embarrassed she wants to dig a ditch and disappear, so she tells him they can just talk about it some other time. The next day, Yuki wakes up feeling seriously sick in bed and checks to see that he has a mad high fever. He wonders if he really is that weak a man who can't even handle chilly nights at the festival, and getting so sick he ends up taking a day off from school for the first time in high school. He falls right back into bed from the heavy fatigue when the doorbell suddenly rings out of nowhere. He hopes his mother can answer it, but as he tries to fall asleep again, it seems like no one else is home. Still wrapped in his cozy blanket, he drags himself downstairs and opens the door, only to get a very unexpected and pleasant surprise. Shocked, he stares at Alice like she's a ghost and asks what she's doing at his house, to which Alice casually replies that she asked their teacher for his address because she wanted to drop off some notes to help him out. Seeing the sorry state he's in, she asks why he isn't resting in bed, and Yuki tells her he had no choice since nobody else is home. Alice sees her chance to play mommy and asks if he's hungry before walking right into his place like she owns it, ready to whip up some fire food. Will Alice finally make her move, and will Yuki stop being a background character in his own romance before his story ends? Comment Alice Best Girl if you're hyped for a part 2. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, share it with imaginary friends, and smash that subscribe button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.